So what I am doing here, I am going to create a program to select data from EKKO, EKPO and MAKT tables, purchase order data tables using for all entries, right? Here what is the input? Vendor number is the input, right? So I'll make vendor number as select options. Take any name, type the corresponding data element. Now define the select option. Select options SO underscore some name within 8 characters for LV underscore listener. I've defined the select option. If you need more inputs, define here. Okay. Activate and check. Step 1. Always when you are creating the program, divide the program into different steps. Step 1. Designing the selection screen. First complete that functionality. Test that functionality. Activate the program. Test it. Are you able to see the select option for vendor number? We can see, right?
Yes, sir.
Text element field label is missing. Maintain the label. I have a special requirement here. I don't want to allow the user to enter ranges. That means like this, 100 to 300. I don't want to allow the user to enter this kind of range. I should restrict the user to enter only single values. How to restrict? No intervals. No intervals. Right? I can add no interval options to the select option. Here you can enter multiple single values. Right? You can restrict the user to enter only single values, multiple single values, not the ranges. Because sometimes if the user enter 1 to 1000, it will try to select all those unnecessary data, right, in between that their range. It may cause performance issues. So that's why sometimes we need to restrict the user to enter specific values. Okay. Now, selection screen is completed. What is the next step? Do you want to display any default values? For example, whenever I execute, do you want to see any default vendor number here? If you want to display default vendor, what is the event we need to write to display the default values? Initialization event. Inside initialization event, you need to write that default values logic. Or let's do one thing. We'll add created data also as a parameter. Okay. We'll filter the data by created data as well. I'll create one more variable for created date. Type, and I'll create one more select option for LV underscore date. I have one more select option here. In text elements, maintain the selection text. Maybe first I need to activate to maintain the selection text. Created date. Go back, execute. So now we have two input parameters, vendor number and created date. Let's assume I need to display some default date. Whenever user executes the program, I want to display some default date. User doesn't need to enter the date again, right? If the user want to change it, they can change. But by default, I want to display some date. So how can you display default values for select options? In initialization event, how to write the code? SO underscore date. What are the fields? Sign equal to, do you want to include the date or exclude? Let's assume include. I want to select data in between these dates. Option. Do you want to enter the range of values or multiple single values? If you want to enter date range, between. Otherwise, EQ hyphen low. What is the lower value you want to enter? For example, last 3 months date, SY hyphen datum minus maybe 30 days. Right? Last 3 months date as lower value. Higher value, high equal to current date, SY hyphen datum, today's date. Append SO underscore date. Activate the program and test. Step 2. This is step 2 in the program creation. Selection screen, default values. Test this functionality. Is it working properly or not? Execute. You are able to see, right? Yes or no? Looks like I've not 3 months date, right? Looks like I've used 30 days. Let me change it to 90 days. Okay? Default values are populating, yes or no? Populating, right? Feb 2024 as start date and current date as end date. Selection screen default values are also completed. Now validation. If you don't want to allow the user, to execute the program without mandatory value, for example vendor number. If user did not enter any vendor number and try to execute, we should stop the user to execute the program. So what is the event we have for that? For validations, at selection screen is the event we have for validations. Selection screen input validations, right? In at selection screen event, I'll write the code like this: if SO underscore when is initial. That means, what do you mean by initial? There is no value. User did not enter any value. Is not initial means there is some value, right? Is initial means it is empty. Initial means empty. Not initial means it is not empty. There is some value, right? If it is initial, message enter vendor number. What is the statement? Message statement. We can display messages, success message, error message, or information messages using message statement. And we have type of message. What is what type of message we need to display? If there is no vendor number, error message. Type E. This should be in capital letters. Okay. Test this functionality, validation functionality. What is the event we use to validate the selection screen inputs? At selection screen. You should maintain the same sequence. First initialization, next at selection screen. Okay. These events are very important in the report programs. Test this functionality. So I am not entering anything in the vendor number and execute. It is displaying error message. It won't allow you to proceed further. It will stop the program with a error message if you don't enter any input here. Right? Next. What is the next step? Business logic, right? Select the data from different tables. In which event we write that? Start of selection event. We implement the business logic in the start of selection event. Okay. Now, what is the approach we are using to select the data from multiple tables? Multiple tables of purchase order for all entries, right? We thought of using for all entries statement, right? Now, first select the header level data. What are the inputs we have? Vendor number and created date. We have these inputs. First, what is the select statement we need to write? On which table we need to write the select statement? Is it EKPO, EKPO or MAKT? What is the first select statement? On which table we need to write the first select statement? EKKO, EKPO or MAKT?
EKPO.
Why?
Listener is there in the EKPO.
Vendor is in EKKO, right? Vendor number is in EKKO, also created data also is in EKKO. These two fields are in EKKO, right? We are selecting by these two fields data. Now, what is the first table we need to write the select statement? EKKO. For example, we are not taking created data and vendor number, we are taking material number as input in the selection screen. On which table we need to write the select statement first? EKPO. If you are selecting by material, since material number is in EKPO table, you need to first write select statement on EKPO and select the corresponding data from EKKO and rest of the data, right? So you need to think about that requirement. So based on what input you are selecting the data, right? Depends on that your first select statement will be implemented. Here we are selecting using listener and created date. That's why I am writing on EKKO. Select. What are the fields you want? EBLN. I'm using new ABAP syntax. Bookers, company code. And what are the other fields? AEDAT, comma, and listener. These are the fields I want from EKKO. From EKKO. Tell me the syntax. Into table, internal table. Are we expecting single record or multiple records with this combination? AEDAT, is it a primary key? No, right? Vendor number, is it a primary key in EKKO? No, right? Both are non-primary key fields. There is a chance of multiple records. EKKO. And what is the condition? Where? AEDAT in SO underscore date and what is the field name of vendor? Listener, right? Listener in check the syntax. No syntax errors. First level data selection, that is from header data, is completed. Now what is the next step? We need to select item level data, right? Item level data for all purchase orders or only purchase orders we selected by using this vendor number and date? For only the purchase orders we selected here, right? Not for all purchase orders. That means we need to pass this header data as input for the item level data table. What is the approach we have? For all entries, right? What are the prerequisites to use for all entries? Header level data should not be empty. SY hyphen sub RC equal to 0. That means select statement is successful and we are able to select at least one record. What is the second rule to use for all entries? Sort LTEKKO and make sure no duplicate records. What is the common field between EKKO and EKPO? EBLN, right? So delete adjacent duplicate. Sorry, in sort statement I did not add by EBLN and in comparing EBLN. Okay. Now, since even we are applying this delete adjacent, is there any chance of having duplicate records by EBLN in EKKO table? No, right? EBLN is the primary key. There is no chance of duplicate records, right? So here this check is optional. Okay, this for all entries check is optional. We are making sure sub r is equal to 0. Rule 1, at least one record. This rule is enough here. We need to make sure there is some record in the header level data. Rest of the two are optional here since EBLN is the primary key. Rule 2 and rule 3. No duplicate records. And write the select statement. Select what are the fields we need to select from EKPO? EBLN, EBLP. List out all the fields. Order is important. Always try to maintain same order in the as like the table. Okay. Always remember, don't write statements beyond 70 characters. Now we are at column number 66, right here. Don't write beyond this, like this, right? Because you cannot see these statements in the debugging. Okay? Don't write beyond 70 characters, 70. Please try to stop here and go to the next line. Enter, go to the next line. Okay? From 70 characters. For example, from here don't write beyond this, right? Go to the next line. From EKPO internal table using an inline declaration. What is the input here? Input, is it a parameter, select option, or the data which we selected into an internal table? What is the input for the EKPO? A header table is the input here, right? Can we pass internal table as the input directly? For that we need to use for all entries in escape sign LT EKKO. And the condition where, what is the common field between EKKO and EKPO? EBLN, right? EBLN equal to, not in. Okay, we need to use equal to LT EKKO hyphen EBLN, right? Now, what is the next step? We have selected purchase order item level data. What is the other data we need to select? Material text, right? From which table? MAKT table. What is the common field between material text? To select the material text, what is the field we have? Material number, right? Where that material number exists? In EKPO table, right? Is it a primary key in EKPO? It's not a primary key in EKPO. There is a chance of multiple materials for different purchase orders. There might be 1,000 purchase orders created for the same material in the last 5 years, right? Yes or no? Same material might be purchased multiple times. That means same material will be available in different purchase orders, right? There is a chance of repeated entries for material number, right? For different purchase orders, you will be having same material number. So that means material number is duplicating here. Yes or no? There is a chance of duplicate records for the material number since it is not a primary key. Then again, to select the material data, do we need to select all materials text or only materials which we selected in the EKPO? Only, we need to select only the materials which we selected in the purchase order line item. We need to pass that data as input, EKPO data as input. Again, we need to apply for all entries. Rule number 1, if LT EKPO is not initial, that means there is at least one record. And what is the next step?
Select.
What about the rest of the rules?
Sort.
Sort LT EKPO by which one? Material number.
Delete adjacent duplicates.
Since we are using material number, there is a chance of duplicate records. Delete adjacent duplicates from LT EKPO. Comparing which field?
Compare.
Matner. Now tell me, since we are using Matner as comparing field, we are going, if there is any repeated material number for different purchase orders, is it going to delete purchase orders or not?
Yes.
But doesn't mean that they are invalid records, right? Let me show you. Let's say we selected purchase order this and item, and this is the material number. 2 item. Material number is repeating for different purchase orders or not? Purchase orders are different, but material number is same, right? Now if you apply delete adjacent duplicates, what it will do? It will delete one purchase order, right? It will keep only one unique material number with one purchase order. But this is also a valid record, right? Yes or no? This is a different purchase order.
Yes, sir.
This is also a valid record. But why are we applying delete adjacent duplicates? That's for only for all entries. Because for all entries cannot accept duplicate records. Only for the sake of for all entries we need to apply this. But that doesn't mean that we should delete actual data, right? We should not delete the actual purchase order data because this is a valid data. But when you take for all entries scenario, material number is duplicate. That's why we need to delete. That's why we should not delete original records. We should take one temporary internal table and apply delete on the temporary internal table like this. Data of LT underscore EKPO temporary table equal to, I am copying same data from EKPO to EKPO temporary table. Now sort, just to satisfy the for all entries conditions, I am using this. Sort the temporary table and delete adjacent duplicates from temporary table, right? I'm not deleting data from the actual internal table LTEKPO because I want to display in the output, right, all the purchase orders. If you apply delete adjacent duplicates on this internal table, it will delete from the actual internal table. We cannot display all purchase orders in the output. That's why I'm taking a temporary internal table. And then write the select statement, select Matner, comma, make ATX from MAKT into table at the rate data of LT underscore MAKT for all entries in which one? LT EKPO or LT EKPO temp? Temp, where Matner equal to hyphen mat. Okay. Is everyone clear why we are using a temporary internal table here? Because there is a chance of duplicate records. Since material number is a non-primary key, it is not a primary key. There is a chance of duplicate records, but they are still valid records. For only the sake of for all entries, we are using this temporary table. Because if you apply delete adjacent duplicates on the original table, it will delete other purchase order records with the same material number, right? Now we selected data from all these three different tables. Now what is the next step? Display the output, right? Before displaying the output, do we need to display output from three different internal tables or one final internal table?
One final.
One final internal table. For that, we need to define one final internal table. Define a type structure with all list of fields. From item level data. Since you are already selecting, you don't need to repeat EBLN again. Use the rest of the fields. And material text, right? From the third table. Or maybe I'll change the order. I'll keep material text after the material number and the item number after purchase order number. Pretty printer. Define the internal table. ls final type ty underscore output. Please observe, because we selected data into three different internal tables. To combine all that data into one final internal table, we have defined this type structure with all these three different table combination of fields and defined one final internal table. Now what is the next step? Loop. Which one we need to loop? Which table we need to loop? Now tell me, for each purchase order number, how many records you can find in EKKO?
One different.
For each purchase order, how many records you can find in EKPO? Multiple, right? Because EBLN is not the primary key. EBLP is also a primary key. Item number is also there. If the same purchase order contains multiple materials, we will be having multiple records. That means 1 to n. Now in MAKT, for each material number, how many records you can find in MAKT? Only one. By, I think we have to add spas here. Language, in which language you want to select. This is also 1 to 1, 1 to 1. Only EKPO is the 1 to n relation. loop lt ekpo into ls ekpo. This internal table, this work area is not available, right? And loop. And then what is the next step? For example, since we are taking all the same field names, move corresponding ls ekpo to ls underscore final, and for header data, read table lt ekko into ls ekko. So if the field names are different, you may need to use field to field mapping. Since all the field names are same, whatever the fields I am selecting in the select statement and whatever the fields I have maintained in the type structure, say all the field names are same, I am not using field to field mapping, I am using move corresponding. Okay. So to read the header level data, read table lt ekko into ls ekko with key. What is the key? What is the common field between ekko and ekpo? EBLN equal to ls ekpo hyphen EBLN. We are looping this, right? We are looping this item level data, right? Pass that work area as input. If, please mute, sy hyphen, I'm already sharing it. If sy sub rc equal to 0, and if, then move corresponding ls ekko to ls final. Otherwise, try field to field mapping. Next, we need to select material data, right? We need to populate material text to the final internal table, right? For that also we use, for material text also, we use one read statement. Read table lt underscore makt into work area with key matner equal to what is the condition we need to pass? Where we have material number ekpo, right? ls ekpo hyphen material number. If sy hyphen sub rc equal to 0, and if, I'll simply using move corresponding to complete it quickly. Try field to field mapping to improve the performance. Okay. ls makt right. So we move header data, item level data, and material text to final internal table. Let's assume we need to select data from more tables, add one more for all entries on a different table, right? For example, MARA table, MARA table, and you need to add one more read statement in the loop. Okay. So we tried with 3 different tables. We can also implement 5, 6 tables by using the same process. Okay. And append ls final to lt final, and clear ls final, and clear all the work areas whatever we are using in the read statements to make sure it is not keeping any junk data, previous records data. And clearing all the work areas, don't clear the internal table, right? So after this, if LT is not initial, sorry, not EKPO, LT final is not initial, then display the output. For now, we'll use CL demo output. LT underscore final. Usually we display output in end of selection event. Okay. Is everyone clear? So this is how we combine multiple internal tables data into one single output. The process is same even if you have 10 different tables. Okay, you need to find the common field between both tables and you need to use a read statement or loop statement. Okay, activate, keep a breakpoint and debug it. I'm not entering any vendor number. That means what it will do? Sorry, I think we have added a validation, right? Let me find some data in the table. The vendor with the different purchase orders. I'll select that vendor as input. I'll check the vendor number in the table. Lifner, I think this vendor have more records. 13,000. Vendor number 13,000. Let me enter the same vendor. Execute. F5. Controller is at line number 49. F5. Subarc 0. How many records are selected? 11. 11 purchase order header records are selected. F5. Sort. Delete adjacent. Delete adjacent duplicates failed because there is no duplicates. Because that's why it's failed. Now execute the EKPO. EKPO is also successful. How many records? 21 records it is selected. Why? Because for some purchase order header data, you have repeated entries. For example, if you take this one, 3007, you have 20, 30, 40 and 50, 60, 70, around 10 different purchase orders you have. For the same purchase order number, you have different items, right? Each item represents a different material in most of the cases. Next, delete adjacent. I am moving purchase order item data to one temporary internal table and sorting it and deleting adjacent duplicates by which one? Material number. F5. Now we have only 4 material numbers in the temporary internal table because we are keeping only unique material numbers and deleting the duplicates. F5. We selected data from 3 different tables. How many materials we selected? Only 4 materials because these are the unique materials we have, right? For all these different purchase orders, we have only 4 different materials, and we are looping and combining all these 3 internal tables into one final output. This is your final output. Okay, so we can achieve the same using joins. So in the next session, I'll create a same program with the same functionality using joins. So you can find the difference. Which one is convenient and easy, right? You can find it. So only thing is, by using for all entries here, you need to write 3 different select statements. But when you use join, you don't need to write 3 different select statements. So you can achieve the same functionality using single select statement. Okay. or maybe I can quickly create program using joins as well. It's very simple. I'll copy the program into another program. I'll name it as joins report. Copy this. I'll keep the same selection screen. I'll copy everything. Change the program. I'll keep the same selection screen. I'll keep the same inputs. Okay. I'll keep the same message. Only thing is I'm going to change the select statements. I'm deleting all the select statements. And I'm deleting all the loop statements. Select. What are the fields we need to select? EKKO,
EBLN,
EBLN, comma. Since we are using joins, you need to provide the table and using tilde operator reference field name. EKKO,
EKKO,
bookers, comma, EKKO, AEDAT, comma, EKKO, listener, from header level data, from item level data, EKPO. Do we need to select EBLN again? We are already selecting it from header level data. EBLP, EKPO. What are the other fields required? All of these, right? Comma, EKPO, Matner, comma, EKPO, quantity, comma, EKPO, unit of measure,
MUIN,
comma, EKPO, PANH is currency unit, EKPO, network. What are the other fields we need? We need material text, right? MAKT, MAKTX. Material number, we're already selecting. From, I'm achieving the same functionality using joins. From which table? EKKO,
EKPO,
inner join, which table? EKPO. We need to join EKKO and EKPO because EBLN is the common field between EKKO and EKPO, right? So we have a common field between EKKO and EKPO and both are primary keys, right? In EKKO, EBLN is primary key, EKPO also it is a primary key. And what is the join condition? On. On. We use on to add the join condition. EKKO, EBLN equal to EKPO, EBLN. What is the next table we need to join? What are the different types of joins? Inner join, left outer join, right outer join. We have different, right? When we go for inner join, when data from both tables are mandatory, when we need to select data, when the purchase order data is available in EKKO and EKPO. The same purchase order number should be available in both tables. Then only we are going to select the data. Otherwise, it's not going to select data from any table, right? That means data is mandatory in both tables. That specific purchase order number is mandatorily available in both tables, right? When we go for left outer join, when data in EKPO is mandatory and data in MAKT is optional. If right, when we use left outer join, what it will do? It will select all the data from EKPO and if the material number data is available in MAKT, it will select. Otherwise, it will ignore. In that case, we go for left outer join. Left out. You can also use inner join. But if the material number is not available in MAKT, it's not going to select any data, right? If you use inner join, the data should be available in all these three different tables. For example, material text is not maintained for any specific material number in MAKT, but that material number is a valid material number and available in EKKO. Is it going to select that purchase order record? If that data is not available in MAKT, and if you are using inner join, if you don't maintain material text in MAKT, it's not going to select, right? So in that case, if you want to make any, for example, MAKT is optional, right? That's not very important data. If it is available, select it. Otherwise, ignore. Then what type of join you need to use? Inner join or left outer join?
Left out.
Left outer join. If the data is mandatory in all tables, what type of join you need to use? Inner join. Left outer join, which table? MAKT, sorry.
Okay.
Left outer join MAKT on, what is the join condition? MAKT Mattner equal to EKPO Mattner into table at the rate data of LT underscore final. What is the where condition? Where? What is the selection screen inputs? AEDAT and Lifner, right? AEDAT in SO underscore date and Lifner in vendor. We need to use table using tilde operator. Okay. Check the syntax. EBELP typo. Check the syntax.
MEIN.
Okay, we have already defined it, right? Here we don't need type structure anymore since we are using joins. I'll remove this because in the joins itself we are generating the final output, right? With this structure. Check the syntax, activate the program. You can, like this, you can join any number of tables as long as you have common field between any of these tables, right? Here in MAKT, Mattner is the primary key. Is it a primary key in EKPO? No, right?
No.
There is some disadvantage of join. For example, in MAKT it is not a primary key. Here also it is non-primary key. Then what will happen? It will select duplicate records. It will generate duplicate records into internal table. That is the disadvantage when you are joining non-primary key fields, right? Since it is primary key in any one of the table, it won't select duplicate records. So that case when sorry. So when you are selecting duplicate records, right, using joins, since you need to join non-primary key fields, so you need to avoid joins. You need to go for all entries in that case. Okay, instead of selecting duplicate data. Enter the vendor number. You got the same output, right? Yes or no? You got the same output using joins. Same output or different?
Different.
What is the difference? We got the, sorry? Enter the vendor number and execute. How many records into final? 21. 21 records, right? Observe the purchase order numbers. We got 21 records with 12 fields of 8. So this is the output using joins. Let's execute the program using for all entries. Let me go back or open the program in new session. For all entries, execute. Enter the same vendor number. You got the same output, right? 21 records. Yes or no? So we are able to select same data, right? Using for all entries or joins. If you are using for all entries, you need to define final type structure, internal tables, work area for final, and you need to write 3 different select statements, and you need to check our for all entries rules. And after selecting 3 different internal tables, you need to combine data using a separate loop statement. In that, you need to use different read statements to combine the different internal tables data into one final output. But if you are using joins, do you need to do any of such? You don't need a type structure, you don't need a final internal table. Writing only single select statement. Are we looping any data? No, right? We are not using any loop statement to combine the output. We are not using any read statements. Simply one single join condition. Which one is convenient? For all entries or join?
Join.
Joins are convenient and easy. Performance wise also better to use joins, since we are executing only single select statement. When we should avoid joins? When we need to join non-primary key fields. All are non-primary key fields. Then we are going to get lot of duplicate data. Then we need to avoid joins. Okay. So like this, here we joined three tables. Like this, you can join 5, 6, or 10 tables. Okay. You need to make sure you don't have any non-primary key fields in the join condition. Okay. And if you need to join non-primary key fields, both you should avoid join and use for all entries. Okay. To improve the performance. That's the difference. Is everyone clear on this? Is everyone clear on this? So try to practice. Right? Try to practice both scenarios. I'll give you one more example in the next session where we can join internal tables with database tables, or you have to go through the recorded video on that. Okay.